really important that we begin to change the mindset of young people to know that your vote counts.
They don't understand that the legislative arm of government is actually a co-equal arm of government.
We have an incredible amount of potential.
Whatever it is I was doing, because of my personal DNA, it had to be of an international standard. Which is what, seriously speaking, is all about.
Hello there. My guest today is a woman. I promised you that the whole of March I was going to be talking to women because it is the Women's Month after all. 2 years ago, Velisco, one of the top producers of what we call Hollandaise, if you haven't won Hollandaise, you haven't started, that's what they say, identified me as the Velisco Woman of the Year because every March they do activities towards that. Now, last year, I handed over the baton to somebody else, somebody who I describe as an aburo with a large heart. And I'm surprised that the heart hasn't burst yet because that heart burst first into what she's doing today because her son, called Patrick, had speech. So my guest today is, in a few short weeks, will be handing over to another Velisco Woman of the Year. But you'll have to take a break and return for you to meet who this, my guest, is. It was in a crowded hall at the Federal Palace Hotel sometime in May last year. Because of the elections, the Velisco Woman of the Year didn't hold. So in May, we all gathered, and my guest has been on this show before. When her name was announced, her name is Dotun Akande, and she's the founder of Patrick's Speech. Dotun, I'd like you to join me on set. You know, the thing about this Velisco award that you have won is that suddenly you are in limelight, whether you like it or not. It's nice to have you.
Thank you for having me.
I'm glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
You know, and although in a few short days or weeks or whatever, you would be handing over. But, you know, what was it a memorable year for you? Being identified as that woman. You know, last time you were here, you came with 2 other ladies who were nominees.
Yes.
And you didn't know you were going to win. So what was it like?
Wow, that night was a different one. I had never been up that, you know, on a stage with people, with women doing great work, and at the end of the day, waiting for whose name is going to be called. And eventually, when my name was called, I was ecstatic, because I really wanted to win, really.
So, you wanted to win. But what I find interesting is the fact that from your speech, I gathered that you didn't want to win for Dotun. You wanted to win for Patrick's Speech and autism. Why?
I wanted autism out there. Everybody has done something. Down syndrome is always out there. People that are hungry, like
homeless.
The homeless,
Lots.
always, Lots Foundation, always out there. People that have been raped, always out there. Autism has no facial presentation. You can't know if a child has autism. So I really wanted autism out in the limelight. I wanted people to know that there is strength in autism. It's always been seen as a despair. But people forget that when you are involved with someone with autism and you're able to give yourself and get into the world of that individual with autism, you can open that person up like a book, like a flower, and then each petal, yes,
will blossom.
Continues
but I mean,
grow.
while I agree with that, you know, but it must have been despair for you at the beginning, if you want to be honest.
Yeah, oh yes. When you have a child that is different, I always like to use the word different because
Then did you use the word different at that time?
No, because it's under disability. But yeah. I like to see it as different because I now found out that there was so much more embedded in my son that we had to be patient and patient and patient to be able to get it out. Mm-hmm. And we, like I always say, you need tons and tons of love to be able to, you know, get that child to express his or herself in this world that we're in.
But tell me, he was only 2. That means you found out early and started to work on time.
Yes.
Could that probably be why you've chosen to pursue a career? Because you left your banking career to do this, you know. This is not your career.
It's the miracle in him that that's actually propelled me to come into this field. And really, when people say, I hear from God, I usually doubt it. But I did hear, go start a center. And my journey from the beginning of the time of starting up the center to the end of the center coming up, there was not one hitch. Financially, physically, morally, spiritually, not one hitch. I had everything to start up.
Tell me, that voice, at what point were you? Because sometimes it's a bit, you said people say you hear voices. You doubted yourself too.
Yes, I
But
did.
you had it happen.
Yeah.
You know, and I wonder at what point that voice hit you. But I'll take a break and I'll be right back to continue my conversation. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Thank you. We'll be right back with Dotun and the Patrick Speech Center, our Woman of the Year 2015, the Vlisco Woman of the Year. Well, yes, I'm still on set with Dotun. What's your Dotun? Olu Dotun or?
Ade Dotun.
Ade Dotun. Ade is like
crown.
crown. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool. That's nice. So Ade Dotun sat down somewhere and was talking to God, and God said, okay, girl, go do this. What happened?
I wasn't even talking. I just sat in and I was thinking, what do I do next? It was actually in my bathroom.
Why were you thinking, what do I do next? Where were you then?
At that point, I had left banking. I was in between. I was selling clothes, shoes, and bags. I had a shop in Ikoyi. And at that point, I just knew that there was something else to do.
Then Patrick had full speech at that time?
Not full speech. He had partials, but he was on the road. Patrick must have been about that was in 2005, and he was born.
Because
yes,
this is the 10th.
Yes,
No, you have done 10 years.
We've done. This is our 10th year. 2006. The project started in 2005. The center opened in 2006.
Oh, so you are doing 10 years?
Yes.
Oh,
we're doing
congratulations!
10 years.
Didn't
Thank
know
you
that.
very much. And it's he had already gotten to the stage where I was more comfortable. He had his speech. He didn't used to use it, but it was there. And learning for him was ongoing. He was doing very well in his maths, his science, struggling very hard in English literature. But he was on the path on the road to recovery, like I always like to call it. So I was just sitting there at that point, and
where were you? Oh, your bathroom.
In my bathroom, and the speech therapist walked in. His speech therapist that was coming to the house to teach him.
After you had showered,
how to talk. Of course, after I had showered. And I told her that I want to start a center. She said, "Wow, it is needed, Mrs. Akande. Don't worry, anything you need, I will support you." And I went to the doctor Dr. Aluko that diagnosed him, and then she said, "Dotun, that's a good idea." I also ran it by her. And of course, I had to run it first with my husband. And he said, he was a bit apprehensive at the beginning, but eventually he called me after a couple of months and said, "How do we go about it? Give me your idea. What do you want to do?" And then he wrote the business plan for that project.
Is he a financial?
Yes, yes. He's a finance man. So he wrote the business proposal, took it to a friend of his in GETTV. And the guy looked at it and said, it's a project that the MD would like to see. That if you know somebody that knows him, tell the person to, introduce it to him. Funnily enough, my neighbor that I grew up with, Dayo Autesu, now Dayo Jaleku, the very good friend of Taya Derioko. So she took the project to him, and she said to him that this is a project I'd like you to look at. And in 1 month after the project was given to him, they called us back. We actually wanted just about 10 million. They called us back. They raised the project cost to 45 million, gave us 30, and told us to source for 15. So you can imagine, we wanted something small, but it went very, very, very fast. All through this period, I never met Tayo for 1 day. Everything was very fast.
So
the
it's an
center was
indication that it was
ready
meant to be.
God had planned
because
it.
the bank has adopted that as its own.
It was ordained.
But still, even with all of this, you can't tell me that what you're doing is more than a tip on the iceberg. You've seen in the market that there's a huge market.
Oh, it is.
What bothers you most? Because you tell me about things about people can't pay.
Yeah. Oh, yes. What you find out there is that when we came when we decided to go into this
the autism space,
the first thing I did was to go to the UK. I went to the National Autistic Society to put me through all the training that is needed. Because really, there is no real degree in the field of autism. It's coming up now, but then there was absolutely nothing. So we had to go through the training. So they put me through a series of training, and they put me through a school for me to observe how it's being done. And then that was what I used to bring it back. So what I did was that I was writing in City People of those days. I was writing about autism, and then I started getting phone calls from families and people that had been hiding. There was a particular lady in the north. She told me that nobody even knows she has a child with special needs because really it's a taboo in that part of the world.
So she doesn't bring the child
out. She would like to know that the write-up has really helped her, to gain access into how she can, work with her own child in her own little domain.
Okay, so how does the Patrick Speech Center, Patrick's, and ultimately to be Patrick's Center,
yes,
how does it help mothers?
What we do is that we have
and fathers.
we have a family training every month, every term, every quarter. So what we do is at the end of that write-up, we had the center opened up, of course, and then we started having short trainings. Then we started bringing somebody in from the UK, from the US to come and train the parents. We have a yearly training. We had a yearly training program, then a quarterly training program, then a monthly training program.
So the whole idea from what your strategy is to help the parents manage their children better.
How many hours do they spend?
Yeah, since it's not a function of carrying your kids and going to drop them somewhere for somebody else to care for.
Yes.
That's been our show for today. We'll see you again next week, if the Lord tarries. Bye.